As time goes by, you realize that more and more white people are coming out and, they're exposing their own history. They're exposing all those crazy things that they did to black people. And one thing that I like to say is that this is not something that is new to black people. And it will say that when the time will come, these people will be coming out and they will be confessing the things that they did. And I'm really, really saddened by the fact that this took so long. But at the same time, I'm happy that in as much as time it has taken, the truth is finally getting out there and people are getting to see the reality. People are getting to see what really white people are. Because for the longest time, what we were taught in the histories, what we learned in the history books, is not what the real history is. They mixed black and white. They didn't want to say the truth about everything that really happened. But right now, we definitely, in those times, when the reality is getting exposed, when we are getting to see the truth, we are in that moment that in as much as they try to hide this information, they can't keep hiding it because it is out there and everyone is having it. So brothers and sisters, this is pure reality, right? And I want to make something make sense. Black Americans already know this. The thing is that they already told you for a long time, but people didn't believe, people didn't trust them. And they say that black people are talking about racism, and racism ended a long time ago. Well, its fabrics are still in the United States. The United States is embedded with racism. I mean, that's just one thing that keeps on going on. It keeps on happening. So I really want us to watch this video, then I'll be back. I'll be sharing my thoughts in regards to this. So let's watch the video. I'll be back.
I'm going to say this to all of the white people as a white person. We are the problem with this country. We have been the problem since day one. Since we designed this country to benefit white people. Beating black people, lynching black people, tearing out the fetuses.
Which oppression was worse, the oppression of women or the oppression of African Americans or blacks?
They used to eat us.
Wait, what? Eat?
African Americans were eaten. Do they not teach this? They were eaten.
Do you think there was widespread cannibalism in the United States? And
this was with a specific lady in New Orleans, and she I know who you're talking about.
Wait, hold on. One example of cannibalism is not evidence of widespread.
They used to skin us and make leather out of it. Why is that even a question?
I think he's saying because you're only pointing to one example.
It's not one example.
1837 on the Portuguese slave ship the Aragante, the captain killed an enslaved man, cooked him, and made the other enslaved people eat him. And the crew ate the organs. In 1831, after Nat Turner's rebellion, they desecrated his body after his execution, and then some sources state that they boiled down his body to a medicinal substance for white people to consume as an act of final triumph. Vincent Woodward has a whole book about the incidents of this happening, the consumption of black bodies, not just literally, but physically, intimately. It's well documented. And within that book, there's another slave owner, a Kentucky man, who butchers and cooks an enslaved person in front of other enslaved people as a form of psychological terror. And then in 1888, the Mercury in Philadelphia releases an expose exposing white doctors who are tanning the skin of black people to make shoes and cigar boxes. One of the physicians was quoted as saying that black skin makes a specifically enduring leather. There was also cases in Mississippi of them making belts and purses and things from black skin. They also used black babies as alligator bait. That's documented in multiple sources. They thought it was so hysterical they made postcards about it. Would use them as bait to hunt alligators or would just feed them to alligators. If you really want to go for a wild ride and you can stomach the truth, Thomas Thistlewood's diaries, called the Thomas Thistlewood Papers or the Thistlewood Papers, the slave owner himself kept a documented, detailed diary of all of the torture he inflicted on his slaves, including 3,800 cases plus of SA against black women, probably one of the most common crimes across the slave trade against black women. And he also invented what was called the Derby's dose, where he would flog a slave and then rub pickle juice or lime juice into their skin and then make another enslaved person defecate in their mouth. Typically, those kind of infractions would be eating a piece of sugar cane because they were hungry. And no, Miss Ma'am, you don't know who you're talking about. Madame Lalaurie did not eat her slaves. What she did do is chain them up with iron collars where she tortured, mutilated them, peeled their skin into strange shapes, and then murdered them. Just because you people are not educated enough to know what actually happened and you don't want to believe it because it makes you uncomfortable doesn't mean it didn't happen.
Country will never recover. There is no coming back from this, and that is in fact a good thing for us. America needed to implode from the inside because Lord knows there is no one outside of us that will make that shit happen. We had to do it to ourselves. This country has never been good. That was all a lie. It was all propaganda. This country was built on the foundations of racism, genocide, patriarchal systems, and one of the most exploitive economic systems that humans have ever seen in all of our history, and that is capitalism. Our foundations are bad. And this is what resulted from that. It's built into every single facet of our lives. It's built into our education system, our criminal justice system, our healthcare, our laws, our economy, everything that constitutes a daily part of our existence. They have the ingredients for the roots with which this country came from. And there is no making that better. It's like baking a cake with regular flour and then wanting to make it a gluten-free cake. It's not going to happen. You can't do that. So you scrap the whole cake and you bake a new one with gluten-free flour. It's like cleaning out an infectious wound. If you don't get every last bit of the bad bacteria, it will get reinfected. A tumor, if you don't scrape out every single last cancerous cell, the tumor will regrow. And that is the reason why we keep seeing this shit popping up every single generation. We are fighting the same fucking fights over and over because we have never completely cleaned out the racist, patriarchal, capitalist, genocidal roots that are our foundations in this country. It has to crumble. It has to. And the shitty part about it is how much collateral damage there will be in the process in terms of the people who are harmed by this. But every single one of us is now paying the price for the evil, oppressive systems that our ancestors built this country on. That is their legacy. And so it is our responsibility to be better ancestors to our descendants, to build a system that they don't have to suffer from 100, 200 years from now.
We are a country that stands for freedom, for rightness, for justice, for everyone. It simply doesn't apply to those who are not white. It just simply doesn't apply. And we were the most rapacious, aggressive, destructive, torturing, monstrous people who swept from one coast to the other, murdering and causing mayhem among the Indians. There's one Indian in there. But that isn't revealed, because we don't like that image of ourselves. We don't like to see us. We like to see ourselves as perhaps John Wayne sees us. And and also what we've learned about the Indians has been largely taught to us by Hollywood and by motion pictures. They have educated us. So we naturally believe that when the Indians came, that the wagon circled and the Indians rode around and subjected themselves to terrible fire and died at a ratio of 65 to 1.
Both barrels of a shotgun would always get 2 Indians.
Yeah, and that wasn't the way it was at all. But anyway, Indians have been tragically misrepresented.
The fucking church invented slavery. Yes, like the priests actually got behind that shit. Like, it all started because of this dude named Prince Henry from Portugal. He would go to Africa and kidnap people so he could use it to get what he wanted. Then he realized, like, wait a minute, I can make a whole enterprise out of doing this. But he knew the church wouldn't get behind that if it was only for money. So he was like, okay, we actually kidnapping these people from Africa because we're going to convert them to Christianity. And so, kid you not, they believe the shit. Yes, the church actually believed that shit. But the way they got black folks to do it was they actually had 150 of us on a boat. And they went to Prince Henry's boys and was like, okay, which ones do you think would be the best ones to put into slavery? And here's what they don't talk about. They actually had different races and religions all on that boat. And so they picked black folks to do it at random because they thought that they were the easiest to convert to Christianity and they worked the hardest. Like, this book is just, bro, this book is literally our history. Like, this is exposing exactly what they've been doing to us for a long fucking time in this country. Like, this is everything that they don't want to teach you in school and they damn sure ain't finna tell you in church. This is the whitewashed story of America because whether everybody likes it or not, Black history is American history. It's exposing what our ancestors really had to endure, what separate but equal really meant. They even tell you the truth and break down the two-party political system that we're still fucking dealing with to this day. Like, for real, they've been lying to us about who we are and what happened to our ancestors for a long fucking time, and that's honestly why everybody needs this book. Now, the only problem with this book is that they've been trying to shut it down for quite some time because of everything that's in it. Like, kid you not, like, they were shut down for the past 3 months, but they finally came back and they only got a limited stock. So if y'all want to grab it before it shuts down again, I'm gonna do you a favor and leave the link down below.
Because it was the white man, when they arrived here in the Americas, that slaughtered over 13 million natives. It was the white man that raped their women and daughters. It was the white man that destroyed their culture. It was the white man that took their language. It was the white man that devastated the beauty of what was here prior. And standing on the words of Archbishop Desmond Tutu, when the missionaries came to Africa, they had the Bible and we had the land. They said, let us pray. We closed our eyes, and when we opened them, we had the Bible, and the white man had the land. See, it was the white man that went over to Africa and slaughtered millions, enslaved millions, destroyed their culture, their language, and the beauty that was there prior to us. Because see, I recall it was the white man who enslaved our black brothers and sisters once they took them from Africa here to the Americas. And for over 400 years, it's been the white man that has continued to enslave our black brothers and sisters. In fact, when they were prospering like Black Wall Street, it was the invasion of the white man that destroyed that city. It was the invasion of the white man onto the island of Puerto Rico that devastated the people that lived there. It was the white man that stepped foot into the islands and the nations of Haiti that once again devastated and left it to die. Because the reality is this: everywhere the white man has invaded, everywhere the white man has placed his foot, he has left it destroyed.
Anatomical dissections meant that whites controlled black bodies even in death. Most of the bodies that were being dissected at NYU and Columbia University were from black burying grounds. 2 slave rebellions occurred in New York City, both in 1712 and 1741, and one of the reasons why these occurred was because of the refusal of slave owners to allow slaves to bury their dead. During the Doctors' Riot of 1788, blacks were among the 5,000 rioters who stormed New York Hospital, which lasted for 2 days. They also pillaged Columbia Medical School and assaulted physicians in retaliation of disturbing the eternal rest of New Yorkers. Additionally, state legislators enacted a variety of statutes to ensure that it was black, not white bodies that were being dissected and continue to be dissected in medical school. And in 1828, Georgia even proposed sending the bodies of black felons who were executed to medical labs or anatomy labs for them to be dissected on. So in 1839, Dr. Harris of Savannah was working with enslaved black people to cure them of cholera, but he was unsuccessful. However, he wasn't too upset because he claimed that he now had ample material with which to investigate the anatomical characters of the disease. In that same year, another physician, Dr. Edward Eve, intercepted the burial of one of his enslaved patients and removed her stomach. This wasn't just happening in America, as in 1828, the Burke and Hare affair occurred in Edinburgh. Between Christmas of 1827 and in October of 1828, William Burke and William Hare murdered between 16 and 23 Scottish residents and sold their bodies to anatomy professor Dr. Robert Knox. However, Burke was executed because Hare sold him out for his freedom. If you ever heard the term Burking, it actually comes from William Burke, and that is murder by suffocation. The clinical material wasn't just black people, it was also impoverished white. Like in 1866, in the case of Emily Brown, who lived in Baltimore at the time. She was a poor white woman who lived in a black neighborhood where her body was then sold to the University of Maryland School of Medicine for $15 by John Thomas Ross and Albert Hawkins. The North was not safe for black bodies, as well as many northern hospitals believed and expected black people to submit to research, as an autopsy and dissection of their bodies was seen as payment for having been treated in charity wards. And while most black bodies did come from the South, one doctor even noted that a professor of anatomy in a New England medical school told me he had an arrangement in which he received a shipment of 12 bodies of Southern blacks. They came in barrels labeled turpentine.
Columbus didn't discover America. You can't discover a place where millions of people already live. He got lost. He was looking for Asia and landed in the Caribbean, and things got dark. His journal described the Taino people as incredibly friendly, bringing gifts, sharing food. Columbus then wrote that they would make excellent slaves, so he enslaved them. He forced them to mine gold. If they didn't bring enough, he cut off their hands and left them to bleed. The Taino people in their population was hundreds of thousands when Columbus arrived, and then nearly went extinct within decades. This repeated everywhere Europeans colonized. About 90% of indigenous people died within a century. One of history's largest losses of life. And we gave this guy a holiday. Columbus Day became federal in 1937 because Italian-American groups lobbied for it while facing discrimination.
If you follow me, you probably saw my video about Auschwitz, but today I want to talk about something completely different. I want to talk about slavery. I'm talking about American slavery of black people. For 400 fucking years, by the way. It was 400 years. And you're probably thinking, I already know all about this. We talk about this in school. I don't need to learn anymore. Well, let me tell you, we actually don't talk about this in school. We don't talk about the truth of it. So let me tell you some things that I learned while researching this. And it's not that hard to research. You just have to look it up. So fact check me if you want, but here we go. First one I wrote down, you probably heard the term motherfucker. Okay, and I'm not going to do any of that corny, like, graped stuff. I'm going to use the real words because those people deserve it. They deserve to not be graped or whatever the fuck. So, slave owners sometimes would force, this was a common occurrence, would force black men to rape their own mothers publicly, to publicly humiliate them and break their spirit. That's where the term motherfucker comes from. The term motherfucker comes from slavery and rape. I'm never going to use that term again. Once I found that out, I was so sick. Next up, the Atlantic slave trade, which we've all heard about, right? If you have like a public education, hopefully you've heard about this. It was so much worse than we could ever possibly imagine. And like, I mean that. Certain ships were actually invented to make it faster so that the slave traders could get more of a profit because people were dying too quickly on the ships. They had special made masts that were much higher. They were the fastest and biggest ships so that they could make a higher profit because people kept killing themselves and dying. And now let me add on to that, people committing suicide because the conditions were so horrible on the ship. They hadn't even made it to slavery yet. They hadn't made it to the plantations. And they were still killing themselves because they knew how bad it was going to be. Sharks literally changed their migration patterns because bodies were just thrown overboard once they died. However, the Atlantic slave trade officially ended in 1808, right? That was the law that was put in by the early United States government. But do you think that stopped it? No. Let me talk about the reverse Underground Railroad. A lot of Southerners went up north and they had these like gangs that would go and capture, they would kidnap black people. Even if they had never been a slave in their life, if they were escaped, no matter who they were, if you were black, they were going to try to kidnap you. They sold children, especially children, because they were easier to kidnap. It was just a big human trafficking thing. And it boggles my mind that we aren't, like, we don't really talk about this stuff in school, at least not at my school in Utah. And also, to counteract the end of the slave trade in 1808, you know what they did? They made breeding farms. And you can guess what that is. It was a rape farm. Girls as young as 13, you know, I wouldn't be that shocked if it was younger, but at least girls and women as young as 13 were sent to special plantations that were exclusively made for breeding, making new people to enslave. And I also didn't know about this, and I don't know, I'm just fuming right now, because, like, I knew it was bad, but, like, doing, like, a little bit of your own research makes you realize how horrible it was. Like so much worse than I ever imagined. Another one, you may have heard about this, but if you haven't, let me tell you, the white people, the slave owners, would use African American hair for cushions, for couches, for insulation. They pulled people's teeth that had pretty nice teeth, whatever. They would pull them and turn them into fucking dentures and sell them to rich white people. And you know who had those fucking dentures? George Washington. He had teeth pulled from his slaves to make his own fucking dentures. No, his teeth were not wooden. That's a fucking myth. His teeth were made from slaves' teeth. I mean, they turned their skin into leather. Another thing, they used these people as much as they could. It's horrifying. Obviously, they exploited them for labor. That's the one we all know. But they also used women in particular for fucking medical experimentation. Do you want to know the reason we know so much about women's gynecology? Is because of the fucking human experimentation that happened to black women in the 1800s and before. Also, the sheer amount of rape that women had to endure from their fucking masters or whatever, don't get me fucking started. But the amount of rape that happened within, not just on plantations, but like during the slave trade, during auctions, it's just so disgusting. I saw a study that said that 16% of all African Americans can trace their ancestry back to Europe. That is because of rape. 16% of all African Americans today. And this video is 5 minutes long. I've been talking for a minute. I haven't even scratched the surface on the cannibalism. It makes me so angry. And guess what? It didn't fucking end with the Emancipation Proclamation. That was a great start. But it didn't fucking end. You really think those people that owned other people were just like, oh, well, it's illegal now. I guess I have to let you all go. No, that didn't fucking happen. They kept their slaves. They weren't all just suddenly freed because the president told them they had to. Really, guys? And even the slaves that were freed, guess what? They underwent so much horrific stuff for the rest of their lives. The rest of their lives. People don't realize how common and how brutal and how horrific and depraved lynchings were. Like, it's so insane to me. Like, when people are like, why shouldn't I feel bad about this? I didn't own a slave. Well, look at your fucking family history, guys. I looked at my family history. I had, because I'm really into family history, I had like my 5th great grandpa or something was from Kentucky, and his fucking will says, to my son, I leave an African American girl, well, I think he said Negro, I don't want to say that word though, named Luda. And it just made me feel so disgusted at my own heritage. Like, the fact that people don't feel shame at all. People are like, oh, well, whatever, like, it's in the past. That bothers me so fucking bad. And guess what? It isn't that far in the fucking past. It's not that far in the fucking past. Fucking, the first black girl to go to an all-white school, she's younger than Trump. She has fucking Instagram and TikTok. I don't know. I'm sorry I'm so heated. I probably just sound so stupid. But I'm just so disgusted right now. Just, like, thinking about it. And, like, I've written some stuff down. Just, like, it just makes me so angry. It didn't end in 1863. It didn't end in 1865. You, like, please, I want you to do your own research. I want you to find out as much as you can about this to understand how horrible it was. Because we truly have no idea. Anyways, rant over. I hope I didn't word anything poorly. Because I'm not thinking right now. I'm just kind of disgusted right now. So I hope that this wasn't too, like, sensitive. But yeah, that's it, guys.